Hello people, here's Johnny again, and here we are again with some mix reviews for the still running mixing contest. Now, one person pointed out making these reviews now when the deadline is not even over yet might give the people who are still going to send in their entries a bit of an advantage, because it gives them pointers to watch out for. So I thought, okay, then I'm just not going to weigh certain details too heavily. But the general balance of a mix is still very much important, and it's still a very, very heavy basis to judge a mix on. So let's just get going here. First entry for today, Fillip Moeglich. So there is a name I see a couple of times. Now, okay, at this point, this is a pretty solid mix. It's definitely one of the better ones so far, in my opinion. The extra layers you put in with the electronic stuff or synthesizer, whatever that is, a nice touch. I'm not sure what to think of it in terms of a mixing contest right now, though. Because it's adding extra sounds, extra layers that kind of already go into the realm of arrangement and are not really in the realm of mixing. But again, that's one of those details I don't want to weigh too heavily now. I think at this point it still fits. So yeah, just, you know, let's go on. Yeah, it's a bit dense, perhaps, but still the overall balance is pretty fine. The little in-between vocals you put in there to kind of fill out the gaps are a bit low in volume, but they are still there. I kind of want to say the whole mix has more of an ethereal, kind of atmospheric, almost proggish kind of feel. But it's actually an interesting take. At this point, I think it's done very well. It's more of a hard rockish song, and it still feels like one, but you put in elements of something much more modern, and still in a way that it merges nicely. So yeah, it's interesting. Oh, we're getting loose, then we will be complete. Okay, again with the button here. Let me check this out with the headphones. perhaps a bit muffled, a bit too much low end from the bass in there, and the whole mix could be just a touch brighter. And perhaps the upper mid-range, just a little bit more to give it a bit more presence in, yeah, in the 2 to 4K range, you know, where the human ear is more sensitive. Just to give it a bit more of an upfront feel. But otherwise, I'm liking this one. I think so far, all the pointers I'm giving you are more of a personal preference, less of objectivity. So I don't want to weigh a lot of the things I just mentioned now too much. What I do notice is the whole mix is a little bit overcompressed. But at this point, that's about it. I like what they did there with the vocals. Just let them fade out very slowly with that delay or reverb in the background, and then they fade back in a little bit before the drums hit. It's a nice touch. I like that one. Good one. This is a serious contender right here. So far, I think my favorite mix. Besides being a little bit too squashed. Also, at the very ending, I liked how you kept the scream a bit more underneath, a bit more in the background, and let the singing voice be a bit more in the foreground. It actually makes sense because the whole song is singing. And then just at the very end to focus on the scream. Not sure if that would make sense, but the way you did it here is very nice. The scream just adds that extra layer of oomph, you know, some smack in the face. So kudos. Now let's go on. So this is EFX Musikproject. Oh no, wait, down here he says XAV, X-A-V. So, yeah, let's listen to this one. That completely caught me off guard. That's so out of the box. I love it. I don't know if I would enjoy it if I would be the general listener, but it's awesome. It's definitely not what you usually hear. Okay, at this point the whole mix is kind of foggy. I think the guitars are just too bright and too fizzy. They could benefit from more mid-range tonal definition. The drums, the snare is quite far in the back. It feels more like you only hear it in a room mic or something, and the kick is barely audible. So let's go on. I'll think of some tips for you. Also, the vocals are too bright. You might want to dial down that top end boost. Okay, at this point I'm thinking what could help you is work on your volume balance, on your gain staging from the ground up. So take down the guitars, the bass and the vocals, just make sure your drums by themselves sit at a good spot, and now fade in the guitars to a point where you hear them very nicely and they are present, but they don't drown out the drums. So there you have a good starting point. And then fade in the bass so it nicely supports the low end and adds and fills up that gap between the rhythm guitars and the drums. And then fade in the vocals so they sit at a good spot, kind of just a little bit on top of the guitars. But also again at the point that they don't drown out everything else. Yeah, the guitars are too fizzy, not sure what you are using for the guitar tones. Definitely want to work a bit more on that EQ balance. More mid-range, less fizzy top end. Those alarm signals. Well, you definitely have or put in some creative spices here and there. I'll give you that. What I just wanted to say something. The low end, right? The low end is pretty foggy and muddy, especially the bass guitar. You might want to dial down that honky mid range around 300 to 500 hertz. Just give it a good dip, and that will clear up already a lot of stuff. Yeah, and then again, volume balance. If I already said it, maybe is check that gain staging really from the ground up, because right now if you just start boosting stuff, you might run into trouble. Everything will just stand in each other's way. You gotta do it step by step, really pull all the levelers down and then take them up one by one, and make sure that the next volume you put out, the next instruments you take up in volume, doesn't cover up what you already did previously. So Yeah, just noticed that there was this constant fog in this background and this honky mid-range. That's definitely the bass guitar. So again, you might want to check that out. I like the general sound of the snare. It sounds, yeah, very natural. It's not over-processed. It has a very great sound to it, but sadly it's a bit too low in volume. That definitely could come up a little bit and be a bit more smacking in the face. As well as the kick drum. The kick drum, I suspect, could also use a bit more top-end boost to give it more click that really punches through all the distortion from the guitars. Got some dust here. Yeah, again, guitars are too fizzy. That whole 5K range and upwards could drop down quite a bit. Let me just skip through the song from here on. Okay, you put in some reverse reverb effect on the vocals also there in that little transition. Nice touch. What just happened? Well, you did put some You did put some creativity into it. I give you that. Thinking out the box is always a great thing. I think at some spots here it was a little bit too much out of the box, especially with what you did with the solo. Oh, it also caught me off guard. And yeah, putting a Tom Morello vibe on it. Okay, but when you have a lot of melody going on, then this whole it's maybe a bit too much. At some spots, you just want to keep it straightforward, but otherwise, I commend you for the work you put in with all the special stuff. So, next one is Jenson Thompson, or Jenson Thompson. Let's see. At this point, it's, yeah, pretty decent. Going from the intro guitar into the main riff, you hear a little bit of a discrepancy. You see the intro guitar has the spike in that top range, and then now this full section, by comparison, sounds scooped in that same range. Just a minor thing you might want to watch out for. Just that the general frequency balance going from one section into another also makes a nice transition. So that one section, there's not one specific frequency area that's too prominent. So that then, in the next section, by comparison, that very same region sounds like it's gone. Because the ears tire out in when one specific frequency area is too strong for a longer period of time. And I kind of get the feeling that may be the case here. But let's go on. Now generally, there could be a bit more mid-range going on in the whole mix. Vocals could be a bit louder, but they are still nicely audible. It's not like they get completely buried. So let's check the low end. There's some flubbiness going on in the very sub range, like 50 Hertz and below. I'm not sure I want to say it's really a bad thing, but it is too strong in that area, which makes the mid-range by comparison again feel too scooped. I get the feeling the kick drum and the bass guitar need to be separated a little bit more in that low frequency range. It feels like they want to take up the same space. Okay, let's switch back. How did I get here? What has led me to be that so? How could I have let these bars be placed around my heart and soul? Oh, no, it's become Hang on, I think the guitars here also have too much low end going on. Let me check that real quick. Might want to check your filtering on some stuff a bit more. Like the low end filtering on the bass guitar, so that very sub range, like 50 Hz and below, doesn't really stand in the way of the kick drum, and also the rhythm guitars, that this 100 Hz range and below doesn't get in the way of the bass and the kick drum, and it doesn't muddy things up. But yeah, low end is one of the more difficult things to handle. Especially when you don't have a proper monitoring system. Low end is the most difficult thing to really get right in your monitoring system. I mean, when you have semi-decently treated studio room, like me here, it's still going to be messy when it's at home, because like my room is pretty standard room. It's rectangular and I have some foam bass straps in the corners, but I still can't trust it. That's why I'm using headphones specifically to really get the low end right. There you don't have these kind of problems. Yeah, here you hear this spike going on. It's somewhere 3 to 4K area. See, when you listen to that for a couple of seconds, the ears already get used to that. And then the next section, where it's more balanced, that will feel like it's having a phase issue, because that specific area is not that audible to the ear anymore. So, yeah. Alright, so yeah, summing up again, too much sub frequencies going on. The vocals could come up a little bit, but otherwise there are not really any crazy deficiencies. It's not overcompressed, and the overall balance is in a decent place. And yeah, again, the filtering with the different on the different tracks, you might want to check that out a little bit more. Otherwise, yeah, not bad. Alrighty, let's go on with Frederik Groborsch. Is that German by chance? Frederik Groborsch. Oh well. So. Wait, there was something? Hang on. What's that? Ooh! I don't remember that being in the tracks. Anyway. Okay, overall at this point, it's pretty decent. Perhaps the guitars are a touch too loud throughout that section, kind of drown out the drums a little bit. And especially now the transition from the loud part to the verse, the drop of volume in the guitars, maybe a bit too strong. But let's go on.
I'm running out of steam. I'm running out of space as I pace back and forth in this blasting machine. The lion rests its head. The lion's all but dead. The lion can't be tamed, can't be shamed into serving the masses disease. Oh, we're getting loose. Then we will be completely unstoppable. Oh, just wait. The time is coming soon for us to break our rules.
Okay, so far it's not bad, not bad.
For us to break our rules. Whoa! Did I get here? What has led me to be docile? How could I have let these bars be placed around my heart and soul?
So low end, also decent. Not bad at all.
Oh no, it's become my only home. Oh no, I will not rest until I wake up from this nightmare.
Okay, here you notice the drums get drowned out a little bit too much, which makes that hit into that chorus lack a little bit of punch. I want to have that kick drum really smack through, but the guitars are a bit too loud, vocals perhaps a bit too loud, and it kind of drowns out the drums a little bit. It's a good balance between the vocals and the solo here. You see, the solo has about the same presence as the vocals. That's exactly right. That was unsuspected, but I like it. Good. Nice touch. In the ending, here I'd say that that's upper guitar layer that's just holding the single note is a bit too loud. So then by comparison, the very final section where you only have the rhythm guitars shredding away are too quiet. And then you kind of lack a little bit of energy in there. So overall, this is a decent mix. I want to say it's just really the volume balance of the guitars that you may want to check out a little bit, but otherwise I don't have any major complaints. All right, last one for today is by Lauri Anttila, or Anttila. Okay, first impression is a bit overcompressed. Wait, let me listen to that again. Yeah, the snare drum could be a bit more upfront. I guess the guitars are just a little bit too loud and perhaps also a bit too distorted. I kind of want to say the kick drum could have a bit more click, but otherwise, what in the world? Oh, hang on. Okay, sorry about that. As you can see, I have a life. I like what you did with the bass guitar. It has this really, nasty distorted sound and this high pick attack. It really stands out nicely. Perhaps it stands out a little bit too much, but again, that's I think more of a personal taste thing, so take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, here you notice that distorted bass track is interfering with the vocals a bit too much. So there you might want to play with the volume balance of that specific distorted track throughout the song a little bit. Also hearing some honky mids again. I'm not sure if that's the bass or the room mics of the drums. Let's check that out. I think it's the bass guitar, but in the second verse, I'll know for sure. Yeah, you know, there's just too much distortion going on in the guitars and the bass. It's making that whole mid-range and especially upper mid-range too dense, which makes it hard for the drums to have that crack in that area and also for the vocals to have their presence in that area. So you may want to dial down the distortion and also work on your EQ balance a little bit. Wait, I haven't specifically checked out the low end. I suspect when you take down that honky mid-range in the bass, you might want to boost the 100 to 200 hertz area a little bit to give the bass a bit more girth. But otherwise, the low end is not bad. The kick has a nice oomph coming through. It's not masked by the bass, so that's always a good thing. When you notice the kick is punching through in that low range and the bass isn't muddied up by the guitars, then you're pretty much golden. Also with that lower octave vocals that you added in, it's a cool touch. I would rather use it as a kind of special effect in certain points, like that whole first half of that second verse, it was always in there. Of course you can do that. It's more of a personal taste thing. In this section I kind of want to say the mix is really just too overcompressed, but otherwise it sounds pretty decent. There's definitely too much in that honky mids going on. It could also be the reverbs and delays at this point from the solo. Something is going on there that's kind of always poking out in my ears. Yeah, it's not a bad mix. You just want to make sure about that over compression and volume balance a little bit. I'm not sure if that's because of the over compression, but it also sounds like it's a bit too bright that it starts to be just on the curb of being harsh. Alright, and that's it for today. Another 5 mixes checked out. I hope it helped you. And yeah, I will be looking forward to the next couple of songs. See you then.